Welcome to the Filmistines, the double feature podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience of the continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/filmistines. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films to further the discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Filmistines, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmistines. Thank you guys for joining us today. I am joined today by my depressed friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone. Did that sound depressing?
You sound like Eeyore.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
You can join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes of the Filmistines. Some recent episodes include Illumination's Migration, Celine Song's Past Lives, Rice Boy Sleeps, Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, and American Fiction. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas over on our Patreon at patreon.com/filmistines and other social medias. Give us a like and come request a film. Come subscribe. Thank you guys for all your support.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at hempvillecbd.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we are discussing Hirokazu Kore-eda's Monster, his new 2023 film. I just want to say right off the top that I'm very, very curious how you feel about this film, because I believe this film is fundamentally important to cinematic storytelling. I think it has entered the pantheon of one of the most important films ever made. Not that I have seen every single film, so I'm only worth as much as I have laid eyes on, but
yeah, how do you come to that conclusion?
But this is the kind of film that helps define the power of filmmaking. And that to me is a film that's fundamentally important to the craft. So simple in premise, but requires supreme execution, obviously. It's sort of self-evident, I guess, when you say something is great and important to whatever. But I do think this film is amazing. But before we jump into it, I would really like to know where your mind is at with this film.
I mean, I thought this movie was great. I really liked it. I loved it. I feel like the standout in this movie is definitely that three-way perspective switch, I guess, for lack of better words. I'm sure there's a fancy word for it. But you don't see that very often in film. And especially the way it was just told here, that each section, yes, revealed something new, something different, something that caused you to feel a different way, but it doesn't even compare to what really happened or what it really was trying to say until you get to the end, which was awesome.
I never thought I'd be confronted in a film or any other medium with exposing and almost making you feel embarrassed for the prejudices that come with any perspective, a singular perspective.
Yeah, this movie tends to put you on the spot because I was right there with the crowd. I was the person that he had in mind when writing this movie. You know, we've said it a million times. I'm the perfect movie watcher because I, ooh and ah wherever I need to. But here in this film, I thought exactly what he wanted you to think and then feel like shit when something was revealed.
Yeah, he probably especially got you because you kind of do fit that lowest common denominator, respectfully so. But when challenged with a master filmmaker like Hirokazu and the screenwriter Yuji, you people especially who get super invested and really kind of just fall into that trance like a child, when you're got your nieces and nephews about and they're watching they're nonsense, and you walk in front of them, and you might as well have not walked in front of them.
Yeah.
You're a fucking window, really. It's amazing.
Yeah, you gotta call their name out 5 times,
Yeah.
throw something at them.
It's awesome
Yeah.
that you can be in that kind of trance. And so there's no doubt that you fit that bill in a lot of ways. But when challenged with someone, a pair like this Hirokazu guy, who I've never seen anything from, this is my first of his. I know Shoplifters is recognized as one of the greatest Japanese works ever made. That's, I think, his film right before this. So I'm very excited to see that for sure at some point.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because in a lot of the review comments I saw on YouTube or whatever was, this film is great, you should watch this. And they would mention Shoplifters or another one of his movies, and it was never the same movie twice.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that speaks volumes that a lot of people are recommending a movie and it's not that same great film that he has. So yeah.
The manipulative roller coaster this film takes you on is unlike anything else. You know, in every film you usually have a singular perspective, right? It may be through someone's eyes, or it may just be through a character, kind of like Ernest in Killers of the Flower Moon. While he may not be the most reliable character, he is the most reliable set of eyes in the film, kind of thing. We deal with that in every single thing you watch, right? Everything's got a perspective. That's why we love certain things, right? That's why I love Amadeus. Yeah, that's a great example. And even Maestro. And I know you really like crime books where you switch between victims and committer, the murderer, whoever, or things like that, and where you just get kind of two stories that eventually kind of converge in a meaningful way. And this movie just kind of exposes the kind of intricacies that go along with storytelling, and how you can make characters like our teacher here, Mr. Hori, look like, I don't know, like a manipulative, lying, predatory, just like douchebag asshole. Like what is he doing to these kids? Who else is a victim, right? Yeah. And then they just, I mean, I want to say they pull the rug out from under you, but man, they set the house on fire and fucking just let it burn around you, and then it's revealed that you're in a bigger, beautiful house that's like untouched by the flames, and you're just like, what? It just makes you feel embarrassed for thinking that way about Hori, and even the school at some point, you know, and in its own ways. Like, but what I wanted to ask you really is what speaks to you in this film. I ask that because this is the first film, and I don't know, maybe since The Whale, where I can't stop thinking about it. And so I'm just wondering if there's a particular scene or detail that you keep thinking about.
I think it's definitely the whole movie that just is so heart-wrenching from all the perspectives, because it really took me on a roller coaster from thinking at first that something is wrong with Minato, that something is mentally wrong with him, like maybe he's got some schizophrenia or something going on, because this kid's like losing his shoe, this kid is opening the door while his mom's driving and just see ya and falls out. I mean, he's got a cut on his ear. Like, that's a weird place to have a cut.
It's bizarre.
Yes. So, something's wrong with him. He keeps bringing up his dad that's dead. So, something's wrong with this kid. And poor mom that's got to deal with this kid. And she's trying to obviously be the best she possibly can, to finding out, oh, nothing's wrong with him. He's just being bullied by his teacher. Like, all right, cool. Now let me hate on this teacher. To then finding out that this is one of the most adorable teachers you've ever seen in a movie. And it fucking breaks your heart. But then, okay, now it's the kid that's evil because he's bullying Yori. He's bullying another kid. So now I gotta hate on this kid because he's hurting another kid. And then to finding out that, okay, maybe it's Yori that's hurting Minato, and Yori's got a mean-ass dad that's abusing him. So, okay, you kind of start to feel a little compassion towards him. All of it to come together, that's not even what this was about. And kind of, you said it so well, shame on you for thinking that. And you're just so frustrated the whole time that reveal, that shame on you, just hits you harder because, like, wow, how was I even frustrated that this teacher was ignoring the mom or that this kid left his shoe? I think that's one of the things that just speaks to me so much from this film, that audacity that you have, that you as a person have.
It, to me, exposes first and foremost the power of storytelling and how much influence it can have over your whole mind. We were just along the rumor mill for 2/3 of the movie. You think you have better judgment. And of course, it's predatory by nature because it's a film. You're kind of asking for it to some degree. It's
Right.
not real life, but it shows you under the right conditions how a totally distorted, curated perspective can completely change how you feel about X, Y, and Z. And especially that first act, the film felt borderline like a horror film.
Yeah, it did.
It was bizarre. A lot of things were very bizarre in how they were captured, and like just certain animations Minato would do, and
say like the "Who's the Monster" song that he would sing.
Yeah, they really set up an unsettling situation.
And the most important thing, when he asked his mom, if you have a pig brain, are you still human? You're like, what is wrong with this kid? Why is he asking his mom that? Then you later find out that he's asking it because he's questioning whether something's wrong with him.
Because Yori has a pig brain.
He's
like, but he sees himself in Yori, and he's falling in love, whatever that means in 5th grade, right? That something must be wrong with him, obviously. And it's so, that in itself is just devastating because he's in 5th grade.
Yeah.
To think that anything is wrong with him.
And that's essentially the first piece of dialogue in the movie. When they're out looking at the fire from the top of their building, and the mom's like, "Ooh, look, a fire." Everyone's peeking out to go look, to be nosy.
We start right out of the gate with this fire of gossip.
Yeah. And then he asks his mom. That's where he asks his mom the first time. And his mom tells him, that's not a human. She answers him. At first, she tries to play it like, what are they teaching you in school? Who's saying that? And then she's like, well, no, that's not human. So she gives him an answer, which I don't know, it's something about that is just so easy to shrug off because you have kids and they ask the weirdest shit all the time.
But an important part about it is these kids ask stuff in earnest.
Yes. And just something about you as a parent or family member or whatever have that power to lead your kid wherever. And it's crazy. I know this movie's not about be careful what you say to your kids exactly, but there's still that underlying message of be careful what you say to people, especially kids. And I love that this is, a kid movie in the sense of there's kids in it. It could also be a movie for a child, but I don't know if it would have that same impact that it could have on an adult. But there's very, very few movies that have children in them where the children die and they don't get to learn or grow or have that compassion. A lot of movies are geared towards that, especially with kids. Teaching them the right ways, letting them learn the lesson, and then hugging them at the end of it and telling them everything's going to be okay. But very rare does a movie not let that happen. And for some reason, those are just terribly good. One of the ones that comes to mind is The Boy in Striped Pajamas. Even though it's, a different subject matter or whatever, but it's still a kid learning the harshness of the world that leads to his best friend dying. So just something about making it all this from a kid's perspective makes it just so hurtful.
I'm not sure how to talk about the end. It's clear to me they die, of course, and they find peace and happiness in that, I guess, transition into the afterlife or whatever. But I can't get it straight in my head, but there's something metaphorically kind of off about that, in that why have the parallel of them, the two kids, running in playing and being ultimately, without knowing, chased by Mr. Hori and Minato's mom. There's this sense of those adults trying to save the kids from, the harshness of the world. And obviously they get there too late because, yes, they literally die, but I think they metaphorically lose those kids to something else, to something peaceful. So I guess, is there a question of whether or not the parents, the adults, got there in time or not? Because I can't make it clear in my head. Because who's to say that bright day at the end wasn't another day, I guess. But then that would make the death ambiguous too. But there's something there that's not completely clicking. Although it's a very powerful section, I can't sort it out just right. There's something that's very loudly said there, but I can't see it very clearly.
Well, I think a reoccurring idea that Minato keeps bringing up in the whole movie is the idea of rebirth. And he asks his mom all the time, like, what do you think Dad is going to reincarnate as, And his mom's like, maybe something noble, and they just talk about that, and it's almost like he likes that idea of having that second chance after death. And I don't know, so they're kind of leading you in that direction, in that train of thought already. And then at the end, when they come out of the train, everything looks cleaner. Like everything has been, washed away. And they get a new start. And one of the most important things that we see here is that the train, railroad track, whatever that was, is no longer closed off. Like, they can go anywhere now. They're free. So that definitely makes me think that nobody got to them in time. And this is what essentially they wanted. They wanted not to live with the harsh realities that they were facing, especially Yori with his dad.
That's very nice. But the element of rebirth only makes it more ambiguous for me because they know they're different and they know they're unlocking and becoming more comfortable in the world with each other and because of each other. And so there's this element of kind of rebirth and blossoming really in the current world too. And because of our different moods and aesthetics throughout the 3 acts, landing in that 4th section, that tiny little section at the end, especially where it kind of escalates in its beauty and its vibrancy through mood and character interactions, I just can't get away that, yes, it's maybe paradise in the process of rebirth metaphysically, but it represents something else that I can't put my finger on. I just can't get it straight.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that could possibly be. Maybe some sign that things will always get better.
Yeah. Because kind of back it up in the film, what helps lead us into that right before is the music scene with the principal.
Mm-hmm.
Who, first of all, shout out to that principal. She's cleaning shit up off the floor. She's scraping that. That's awesome. All right. I'm just going to point that out.
Never did my principal ever do anything.
Not in a million years. They may have sat in their chair at some kind of the cusp of one of the hallways or in the commons area or whatever. Shout out to that principal for real. But that music scene where she's with Minato and they play a couple of instruments terribly is one of the most powerful ways I've ever seen characters scream and express, the torment and know that there's just no words that could ever, there's no human sound, that could come out of you that could express the pain. And so you almost need this extension, like the instruments, to vocalize that, something that's just not of the human capacity on its own.
Yeah, you need something louder.
That's one of those earlier moments with Minato coming to terms with how he feels in the world, while also sharing that with a principal who accidentally killed her granddaughter and sharing and feeling a similar kind of pain that's just totally indescribable.
Yeah, and That's a very beautiful example to bring up, because before they share that badly playing instrument,
Which I love that it was terrible.
yeah.
Because if it was beautiful, I wouldn't have the same effect at all.
Right. But before that, they have a conversation where he essentially says, like, I could never be happy, or, the situation that I'm in could never be. And she tells him that he's wrong, that the only thing that you can actually have in this world is happiness, thus furthering his confidence in whatever he's coming to terms with. So that's a very nice example.
Man, and structurally, just think about how insane that scene is, too. We got just two people, music room, couple of instruments, they play something badly. Like, how is that going to be effective? We got great dialogue, of course, great performances, that helps, but how is that going to come across in one way or the other? And then they sneak those horns in at different points in the movie, too.
I was just going to say that I feel like that helps, that just not in your stomach.
Yeah. You want to talk about getting punched in the fucking stomach, man?
Because you hear them throughout so many sections. And you're like, what the fuck is that noise? And you think it's part of the score.
It's eerie.
It's so eerie. It's like, what the fuck? And the score itself is so soft. And lots of piano pieces and very melancholic, but very soft. Then you have that, and it disturbs you a little. Then you find out where it comes from, and then you have your, oh shit, great, thank you.
They can even morph your perspective on the vibe of a sound. What do you think of the parent teacher principal meeting that they had? We saw it a couple times.
There's very few movies where I have been irritated and annoyed and wanting to hop into the TV screen and shake somebody. And that's that scene, that whole, it was several scenes of these interactions. They pissed me off, especially, being so close-minded with my one perspective. And then they got sad when I knew more, but they were good. Because at one point, Mr. Hori puts a piece of candy in his mouth, and the mom's like, what did you just do? Did you just put candy in your mouth? And he's like, and I'm with her. Like, this motherfucker is so disrespectful. Then you get his point of view, and you're like, no, please understand. There's nothing going on here, really. But there is a lot going on here. It's a whirlwind of emotions. I just love how intentional that feeling was without you knowing. And even at the end, you don't know until you reflect on the movie. The intentionality of that frustration.
Yeah, and then they alleviate at least the Mr. Hori side in the second act with him and his shenanigans, and how I love how that rumor started of him being at the burning building, and then you're like, is his teacher just died? What? But I do love his relationship with that girl who just picked and picked and picked at him. And because it just revealed so much of his quirkiness, because he was just put on the spot constantly. What was up with this goldfish you told me?
Oh my gosh, it's so sweet. I just love, first of all, I love what they did with this character. I love it. But his goldfish, or one of his fish, had bladder issues. So that's why he couldn't swim. That's why he was stuck at the bottom. And he took care of him. And one of his other characteristics was that one of his hobbies was to find typos or mistakes in writings and just send them to, the editor or whoever. And just how much of a kick he got out of that. Just how things sound funny when they're misspelled or when they're typoed. And even when he got fired and his girl definitely left him, he was still doing that. And I don't know, that speaks volumes to a person that even at their shittiest can still have that fun in their lives. And it's just so sad how dirty they do him.
And even in the third act, they throw us for a little bit of a loop because he's being blamed. He's not allowed to speak his mind because of the more or less corruption of the school system.
Well, it was because he was looking out for his students, because that's what he does. Because if he's told the truth that Minato was bullying, or I guess his truth, his version of the truth, he wouldn't be able to test in a different school. So he was still protecting his students.
Yeah, and towards the end of his section, we get him on the roof where we're just like, if we know anything about people
Getting on
roofs, that's never a good sign. And then it cuts. We don't see anything, right?
And then I think it cuts around the time that Minato and the principal were making their trumpet noises. So you didn't know what it was yet. So it was that eeriness. And then this scene, oh my God, it was so good. Talk about what the fuck is coming next. Talk about hurry up so I can find out what is going on.
Because they leave you with, all right, what's up with these kids? And then we get a lot of class time scenes and interactions between the two. And I don't know about you, but it definitely leaves me with, ultimately, with kids are fucking savages.
Kids are savages.
Kids, it's hard to say kids suck because they're just being kids, but kids sort of suck.
Kids are the worst.
There is no reason for these kids to be bullying anyone, especially, to the degree that you often will see when people are bullied. Like, picking on people is one thing, but I don't know how they felt like they had the right to bully Yuri when he was dressing like a G. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was funny. That's funny. He's the only one not in Old Navy t-shirts.
His dad's a drunk and he dresses like that. Those kids need to figure their lives out. That's all I'm saying.
It's so sad that kids can make other kids feel like this. But at the end of the day, it's also these learned behaviors they're getting from their parents.
And each other. Because they're all so impressionable.
Well, I mean, yeah, look at Minato.
Yeah.
We can be friends, just don't talk to me in front of the others. And Yuri's just like, okay.
Yuri's accepted this.
'Cause one of the adult culprits that comes to mind for me, she didn't even do anything really, but it's one of the teachers that's talking to Mr. Hori, and they're talking about the vice principal or the principal, whatever, and how she lost her grandson, and then she comes running to him, like all sneakily with the biggest smile on her face. And she's like, I heard that it was her who ran over her grandkid, not the husband. And then she still has a smile and goes back to her desk, and she's still smiling. I don't know what she was doing, like cutting something or paper clipping, I don't know. And the whole time she was so excited and so happy to be spreading this gossip.
It's juicy. We love the juice.
And Mr. Hori's just like, what? And then he starts eating his food really fast. Like, there's a lot in this movie. There's a lot to unpack. I feel like you could watch it again and just learn so much more from it. It's one of those movies. And I feel like I would want to, because I would kind of want to focus on the principal and her story. There was a lot there, almost like a fourth perspective. I read a review saying how they would love to find out if she actually did it or not, and just kind of what happens with her. That made me think, yeah, I would have wanted to focus on her too, watching the movie. Because there was this one scene, I don't know if you remember it, where the mom was at the grocery store and the older woman tripped a little girl. That seemed just out of nowhere. Was that the principal? Was that her?
I thought so.
And it's like a what the fuck moment. Like, why would she do that? So that, it just seems like everything here was explained in some sort of way, except that. So I would want to go back and rewatch it to unpack that. And that whole interaction she has with her husband at, I guess he's in prison or wherever he's at.
Yeah, it's so tangential that it's hard to get a read on what's happening, because it feels like, yeah, she did it. She's so beat up about it, but also, of course, she's beat up about it. Her granddaughter died. Doesn't matter who killed her or how she died.
Because then she has that exchange with Minato and she tells him, I told a lie too.
And that would seem to confirm it, but it's hard to know.
Right.
Especially when it's then established that no perspective is sacred.
Right.
I like the repetition of the fire being brought up because it only fuels this idea that we all feed into the gossip, the problems that we all have. And it's fun to watch it happen, even, right? The mom in the beginning, she's like, doesn't she call her son out to come see?
I think she just says it out loud, like, "Oh, look, there's a fire." So yeah, she's calling him, yeah.
And she starts yelling at him, being silly. Hundreds of people probably died in that big ass building. You know, of course it's a spectacle and fun to watch a wreck in the aftermath and stuff, but it just exposes how gross and perverse our gossip gene is, you know?
Yeah, that's well said, because after the fire, when the mom has a customer come to the dry cleaners, they didn't talk about how bad or destructive it was. That's when they talked about Mr. Hori being there.
The juicy juice.
The juicy juice. Exactly.
A teacher hanging out with a
hostess girl?
Ooh. I get it. We all get it. But damn, does it make you feel like shit.
Like a piece of shit, that's for sure. One of my favorite scenes was when he had to go to the hospital after he fucking jumped out of a car and he had to have a CT scan. And after the CT scan, when they're walking home, he asked his mom, did they find anything? And his mom was like, no, you're completely normal. What would they find? And just how scared he was. And you don't know why until later on. Or you assume why throughout several instances that it's like, oh, because he might have a pig brain. But then it turns into, oh, because it might show something's different about him.
And I don't know about you, but they, especially in that first act, they position it in such a way that, are we really having pig brains transplanted in folks? What's going on here?
Yes.
Because the mood of that first act is so eerie.
I think I asked you, is this a scary movie? And you just laughed. So I didn't know.
That was a good answer.
That
I gave
was
a good answer.
To find out, it is a scary movie. It's the worst of the scary movies. It's not, oh, I can hide under the covers for 3 seconds and be over it scary.
It's oh, you're a fucking monster.
Yes. Yes.
What do you think of that repetition of who's the monster? Is it too on the nose?
No. Or maybe I'm just an idiot because after the film, thinking about it, I was like, why is it called Monster? And then further into my thought process, who was the monster? And then it's like, oh, we're all the monster. So I don't think it was that obvious. I had to think about it. I had to process it because the word monster is just so harsh. It's a harsh word to use to describe a person. Monsters are the serial killers. Monsters are the people who are killing people. That's it. That's one of the only times you really hear that word being described, or someone abusing someone hurting someone physically. Then they fucking call me a monster here.
And Minato thinks he's a monster.
And then, yes.
And he calls Yori a monster.
It's so sad.
What do you think of their development?
Yeah, their development was pretty cute. Their friendship was pretty cute. I liked how just disturbed Minato was about it. I mean, who goes home and cuts their hair off because someone touched it? That's weird. That's messed up. But then slowly but surely he starts accepting it and starts being okay with it. And he gives him his shoe. That was cute. And then he taught him how to make one of those toy thingies that he twirls around.
And they built out their fort.
They built out their fort and they started learning. And they started playing that headband game.
Yeah, the innocence in play is unmatched. I guess, I need to bring it up because I like bitching about it, but these kids, these actors, these child actors are amazing. I don't know what's wrong with American children and their inability to act, but we need to get in fucking line.
Yeah, really, all the performances here were good. Even the children.
In the classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the performances here are unbelievable. It's like a complete non-issue. Like, there was just nothing strange about anything, you know? It's like you watch Barbie and you're like, I don't know about America Ferrera or her daughter or Will Ferrell or maybe even Ryan Gosling.
Or John Cena.
Or John Cena popping up. Yeah, you're just like... But here, it's just a vision where everyone is working on all cylinders. It's a masterfully crafted film. This movie probably kept Hirokazu up for days and days and days. No sleep. He was the editor, too. So I can only fucking imagine.
He really got no sleep.
That's the best combination when you can get a director and editor. It helps flesh out that vision.
Well, obviously it shows. I mean, we've covered in the past films that have been both written and directed, how they tend to do better and tend to have a cohesive vision. Now I can only imagine being part of the editing process. Yeah, I mean, even their house. I loved how messy it was.
It looked lived in.
Yes. Yes.
I know that it's kind of a funny thing to ask out of a film, right? To make something look lived in. It's like, that's easy. I mean, it's not though, you know, when you have to build it out yourself. But the sense of history in that tiny space, every corner, the fridge, the throw table,
his room,
the history is just it's amazing. It's genius, really, because I don't know about you, but we were playing detective so much in that first act that your eyes wander a lot.
That was me. Yep.
That was you?
It was.
Good. He got both of us. And there was a lot of, items and stuff to find. Like I think we all probably came to the same conclusion that they've been living in this place for a while and they, they're an active family, he's putting stuff up on the fridge, posters, whatever. She's working, she can't take care of the house 24/7. So it just plants you in this space of normalcy. It's just like, and then it further kind of frustrates and confuses you with Minato because he's odd. I'm not gonna ever forget the scene. Maybe you can say something about it, where he dropped his eraser.
Oh my god, I knew you were gonna say that.
And she left to go get food or something, but she came back, and he was still reaching for the eraser.
Yes.
That's weird.
That was weird as fuck. And that's probably one of those situations where it's just such a coincidence. He's thinking about whatever so much that he's dropping his eraser and he keeps dropping his eraser. And he's stressed. He's not thinking straight. Of course that eraser is getting dropped because it's getting used, because he keeps making mistakes and he's probably getting so frustrated. But you don't think about that in the moment. In the moment, it looks like that little boy has been in that position like 2 hours, the mom, her car's in the shop, probably. She's walking to the store. She's got a watermelon. She said she was getting oil. She took an hour or two at least. And it looked like he'd been sitting there for 2 hours, just like that, reaching for the eraser. And it was weird. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I'd forgotten about that. That's why I asked you, is this a scary movie?
Oh, was that the moment?
No, really the moment was after he jumped out of the car. Because that's weird. That's odd.
I like the cinematic treatment of like 2 fifth graders falling in love too. Because they're in a state of life where it should just be love, and then that should blossom in the best play ever, right? They're in love and they're playing. Like, this is the life. But it's challenged with just a catastrophic thing of societal norms and really just, I guess, school norms as far as these kids go, right?
And just how innocently sad this all is. Because they're kids. At the end of the day, they're kids. And that love you feel at that age is for your best friend. That person that you want to hang out with all day. But yet you're still at that very cuff of that transition into something, a little bit more. But you're still kids. And it's so sad.
If those kids in the classroom would have just fucking said something, collectively to the principal, you know what I'm saying? They all filled out those forms, erasing and putting different answers, probably because they're looking at each other's fucking sheets and they're trying to align themselves.
And that's funny you say that, because this is also probably one of my favorite parts, that his smile is so creepy. And his girlfriend likes to point that out. And it's really not. But he's so animated with his smile.
Yeah, and he thinks about it too much because of his girlfriend.
Probably, yes.
So-
And then, one of those kids could be filling out that question and thinking, you know what? He did smile at me. Kind of weird. That must mean something. And then you circle the answer. And even that girl that said that Minato found that cat under the stairs. And that was before we knew. So it's like, wow, now he's killing animals. Like, But she didn't say that. She didn't say he's killing animals because she says that. She tells us, the audience, when Mr. Hori asked her, tell the principal what you saw Minato do to that cat. She's like, well, I didn't say he killed him. She just said she saw him over here with the dead cat. But I too thought, oh, now this kid's killing animals. See, I even took it from cat to animals in my head.
This kid's psychotic.
This kid's psycho. So no matter, even if they would have gotten together and gone to the principal, what? Who knows?
It would have been a mess because they would have there's no way these fifth graders are going to be able to align their ideologies for this brief second of time, What do you think of Mr. Hori going to Minato's house and, I don't know, begging for forgiveness, sort of? Wanting answers? Like, why this happened?
Well, I think he knew because they left him that note. And that note because that note had Yori and Minato's name on it. And, we didn't finish figuring out the puzzle with him. He figured it out without us. So maybe it said in love or forever or, something kiddish like that. That's what I assumed. And that's what got him running to go and to apologize and tell him, like, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. I'm sorry that this had to escalate because of this.
I hope Mr. Hori finds another job.
Me too. And another girl.
Does she leave for good?
I don't know. She packed her PJs.
Oh, she's coming back.
She's coming back?
Yeah, she's coming back.
But she didn't live there.
She's coming back.
She's coming back?
Yeah.
Well, I hope he doesn't take her back. She didn't stand by his side.
All right, man. Well, thank you for that talk. Thank you for watching this movie with me. That was good.
Thank you for making me cry again.
You're welcome. Do you have a budget guess for me here today?
Yes. This one was hard. Because, Japanese, not a lot, but a lot.
Yeah, Japanese, a lot of close-ups, a lot of interiors. I hear you.
So it was kind of hard, but I went 5 million. I said less than 5 million, but you don't usually take a wild guess like that.
Yeah, like precision.
Yeah, I'm going with 5 million, I guess.
Well, if you said 5 billion yen, that would have been right on the money. It was $11 million.
11 million? Okay. There were a lot of moving parts.
Kind of fits that indie, kind of moody vibe like Rice Boy and Past Lives.
Yeah, they were Past Lives. I know was 12 million.
I think Rice Boy was around 9 to 10.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, fits that.
And it apparently went on to make about $21.4 million.
Okay.
I think it got...
Okay.
I'm not sure if it got a limited release here in the States. So that's probably decent, though. But the moment you've all been waiting for, the most important part of the show, our scores.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, first of all, Letterboxd, though. It says over on Letterboxd with 125,000 people. Good number,
Good
folks.
number, yep.
They gave it an average of a 4.3.
That's good. I gave it a 4.
A 4?
I gave it a 4. I was debating 4 or a 3.5, but
How are you going to justify 3.5?
yeah, exactly. So I'm giving it a 4 because there ain't no 3.5 about this.
This is the kind of movie that in a few weeks, months, maybe a year from now, kind of sneaks some points, shaves them off.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So out of the gate, it's definitely a 4 for me. For sure. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
I could see this movie in 6 months, taking root and end up being a 4.5 or 5. I'm not sure. It takes time. I think this is a fundamentally important film to the possibilities of filmmaking and one of the most powerful films I've ever watched.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm that bold, but everything makes me cry and everything speaks to me, so it might mean more coming from you.
It does. Bravo to Hirokazu Kore-eda. I'll be keeping an eye on your next film.
Yeah, and I can't wait to watch some of his other films. Apparently he's good.
A master filmmaker. If you can't pick, that's awesome. If there's no general consensus, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Filmistines. I hope you guys took something away. I hope you guys go see this movie. It's very easily one of the greatest films of 2023. Although I will say 2023 had some bangers. Did it get snubbed at the Oscars? Yes, sir.
Yeah, especially his Past Lives made it to the Oscars.
Oh my God, shut up. But thank you guys all the same. Remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with brand new episodes of the Filmistines over on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, patreon.com/Filmistines, Spotify, Apple. Did I say that? All the goods. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas over on our Patreon. Go request a movie, come subscribe, be part of this growing community where we learn about films together. Come right in. We'll read it here. Go watch good films. Come recommend good films, actually. That would be really nice. Don't recommend the bad ones. But if you do, that's all right too. You want to recommend Madam Web? Go right ahead. I dare you.
Oh man, don't do that.
But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching, keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmistines, signing off.